All I know is every single thing that's happened in this world that gets promoted by the mainstream media is usually a BS story.
Trump wants to erase the US debt with either gold or either crypto.
People will look at the United States in a different way because it's not like the United States is going to go sell all their gold and pay off that debt. I was trying to beg all my friends and family when Bitcoin was $1,000 to get into Bitcoin because I did think Bitcoin was going to 100,000. And here we are today. Silver is the cheapest asset in the world by far. It's the only commodity in the world that's cheaper than it was in 1980.
Welcome back, guys. We took a little hiatus. This is episode 30 of the Gold Awakening podcast. I'm Marcello Pizzo, co host, and here's Michael Piccioni, your expert. So let's dive into it right away. I'd like to start off with silver finally hitting some highs, finally showing signs of life. The silver bugs, yourself, which is a big advocate of silver, you must be excited, Mike. This is like the beginning of the big bull market in silver. You want to talk about it?
It's very, very exciting. Personally, I've been waiting for this for several years now for silver to break out. And by breaking out, I mean getting above $40 US. And here we are above 41 US now and heading towards 50. And 50 is the all time high that we reached two times before in 2008, or sorry, in 2011, and again in 1980. So, yeah, we reached $50 US in 1980, and here we are at 41. So still not even at our old all-time highs from 45 years ago. So just shows you how cheap silver really is today and how big of the opportunity that silver presents. Because after it gets above that $50, what we've built over these 45 years is a huge cup and handle, which is the biggest, most bullish pattern in technical analysis when it comes to trading. So when it gets back above, because we hit 50 in 1980 and then again in 2011, so 31 years apart. So that made the huge cup. And then over the last 14 years, we made that handle and now we're back up to the top. So once we break out above $50 US, it's going to be majorly explosive. People are going to be shocked about what happens with the price of silver once it gets above 50. When you saw gold, for example, which doesn't move nearly as fast as silver, but gold, when it got to its all-time highs of $2,000 last year, now here we are at 3,500 US for gold, 3,600 US. So it's almost doubled in a very short period of time. And I think the move in silver will be even more explosive than that. I think you'll see silver go up 2, 3, 4, 500% within a 12 to 18 month period. That's where we're heading. And silver, to me, is the best investment opportunity of our generation after Bitcoin. For right now and going forward, I think over the next 10 years, I think there's no better place to be than silver. And this time right now that we're experiencing is super, super exciting. I think the breakout is imminent. I think it's just a matter of when at this point. Will we get above new all-time highs this year, or will we have to wait until next year? Who knows? It could happen even in the month of September. That's how fast the price of silver
But
is
it's
moving.
definitely going to happen. You really think now, once it breaks over that 50 mark US, right now it's at what?
41.
41 and change. So you're saying once it crosses over the 50 mark, sky's the limit?
It's gone because now there's no more resistance levels. And that's what traders are looking at. Traders look for resistance levels to be able to short. They have to make the decision to go long or short an asset. Once it gets above 50, there's no trader in the world that will have any technical analysis to short silver anymore. So everybody's going to go long. When all the big money goes long, that's when the price explodes.
So what is it going to explode to? It would be 50. So you think it's going to get to 150, 200, 250?
Depends how far out you're talking about. I think eventually we'll be above 1,000. I mean, when I don't know. It might take. I think by the end of the decade we'll be somewhere between $500 and $1,000 US. So I think the opportunity is huge. I mean, I think we're going to be going even above those levels. I think we could even get to $2,000, $3,000, depending on where gold goes. Gold goes to $30,000 an ounce. You could see silver get to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 easy. So
Yeah.
when you're looking at today's price of 40, if we go to $1,000, you're going to make 25 times your money. There's not many investment opportunities where you can make 2,500%. So a simple $10,000 investment could be worth $250,000 in less than 5 years. That's what excites me about silver, and that's why I try to promote it as much as I do. And I kind of get people. I don't really stop talking about silver, to be honest with you. It's kind of I get kind of annoying.
And but this is what the point I want you to make is the urgency is you can't wait till it goes to 50. You can't wait till it goes to 150. You got to get in now because there might be a time where silver you won't be able to get it, right? And that's I think you got to communicate that to your audience. Now's the time to buy. Like you have to get in now.
That is a huge threat, and I think the beginning stages of those shortages has begun. I think the retail market is starting to get back into precious metals. I'll be honest with you, since COVID and since the banking crisis from a few years ago, where we were super busy selling precious metals, specifically the last year has been really slow in terms of us selling precious metals. People have not been nervous; they haven't been rushing into precious metals because here we are, we got stocks hitting all-time highs again today. So there's a level of easiness right now. People aren't nervous. They're not looking for ulterior investments. They're okay with their stocks right now. They still have a job. The recession hasn't been announced. There's not a lot of fear right now in the general public, even though there needs to be. I think we're at the beginning of the biggest financial collapse in the history of humanity. I'll be honest with you, because the difference between this collapse and all prior collapses, for example, the Great Depression after 1929, there was a huge bull rally in stocks from 27 to 29, and people were out to lunch. People didn't realize there was going to be a depression coming. People thought, this is fantastic, I'm getting rich, my home's going up in value, my stocks are going up in value, I got my job is great. And then boom, after the stock market collapse of 29, it took over a decade to rebound from that. And I think that's exactly where we're at. I think we're in a 100-year cycle of that Great Depression from the 1930s. And I think we're going to see that exact same thing play out in in the 2030s, because there's no coming back from this. The difference this time around is the hyperinflation is global. This isn't a United States specific event. This is a global monetary crisis, a reset of the entire monetary system. You're going to see stocks continue to rally here as they lower interest rates for the rest of this year. But next year could be the beginning of the stock market where it starts to turn over. Maybe it's 2027. I don't know. I'm not here to try to time the market. That's why I think it's just smart to just be safe, invest in precious metals now. That's your insurance policy. Precious metals is insurance on a collapse of the financial system or on hyperinflation. So right now, most people are not protected because less than 1% of North Americans own precious metals, which is really nobody. 90+% of the world is going to be in a really bad spot. And that's what I'm trying to help. I'm trying to get people to prepare in advance for what's to come, because what's to come is a certainty. Major inflation is a 100% certainty. Hyperinflation, in my opinion, is a certainty. Because every single time in history, if you go back thousands of years, every single time you've gone to a fiat currency where it's not backed by gold and silver, that currency goes to zero. It collapses. You go through hyperinflation. We're at the beginning stages of hyperinflation right now. These are the beginning stages. People keep saying, "Oh wow, I can't believe the price of this. I can't believe the price of that." Well, you haven't seen nothing. I mean,
Yeah, is this
well, our money is going to be worth confetti. Like in Venezuela, you'd have to bring a wheelbarrow of money to go buy a glass of milk. I mean, that's just the reality. The same situation is going to happen here. We're no different. The monetary system was designed a certain way. If you go into a fiat-based, debt-based economy, the dollar's going to collapse, but you have an opportunity to get rich all the way up. Like, look what real estate has done. It's been an amazing asset. It protects you from that inflation. Stocks have done fantastic. Problem now is those days of stocks and real estate and bonds performing well, which they have for 4 decades in a row, that's over with. Now we're moving on to a new cycle, which is a commodity cycle. This is a commodities bull market. We are at the beginning stages of that now. And in that environment, commodities will go up multiple times, and traditional assets like stocks, bonds, and real estate will perform poorly, just like they did in the 1970s, just like they did during the Great Depression, just like they did in 2008. This is the same situation. Gold, silver, and commodities will be amazing assets to invest in over the next 5 to 10 years. Traditional assets like stocks, bonds, and real estate will be terrible assets. In the 1970s, silver went up 4,100%, gold went up 2,500%. The stock market did nothing, bonds did nothing, and the real estate market did nothing. Absolutely nothing in that. They didn't even keep up with inflation. And that's what's going to happen now. But the problem is everybody's sitting in stocks, bonds, and real estate right now. They're not preparing for what's to come. I'm trying to urge people to get ready now. Put a percentage of your portfolio into precious metals so you're prepared if I'm right. And I know I'm right. To me, it's 100% certainty of what's coming. Hyperinflation is coming, major recession is coming, major depression is coming, job losses, slowdown in the economy. When things start to slow down, people panic, and nobody's going to be buying houses in that environment. So the construction industry is going to collapse. Nobody's going to be buying cars in that environment. So the auto industry is going to collapse. When people are broke, they're not buying cars, they're not buying houses. We're almost there right now. I mean, I see it in my circles. Like people are struggling out there. I mean, it's not the way it was, and I think it's only going to get a lot worse. So people need to prepare now.
Yeah, and what I like about you, Mike, is even the first time meeting you and I didn't know about precious metals is you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You yourself, you're all in on silver. Like it's not like you're just a sales guy saying buy, buy, buy. You're actually doing it yourself.
In a big way, like in a I don't stop. Like every single dollar I make in my business or in wherever I can make a dollar, it's going into silver. And I was big into Bitcoin. I was trying to beg all my friends and family when Bitcoin was $1,000 to get into Bitcoin because I did think Bitcoin was going to 100,000. And here we are today. Honestly, not that long, 7 years later, from 1,000 to 100,000, that came true. And the only reason I was so passionate about it is I did my homework. I've studied the history of money. I understood what Bitcoin was, the scarcity of it, the decentralization of it. I understood what it was because I understood what money was. A lot of people don't understand what money is. And that's the big issue. That's why people don't own gold and silver. If they actually understood money and fiat currencies and the history of money, everybody would be rushing into buying gold and silver right now.
Right. A lot of people would have more precious.
I feel about silver right now the same way I felt about Bitcoin in 2017, 2018, because I knew Bitcoin was going to be an amazing asset. And I know silver is going to absolutely explode. Silver is the cheapest asset in the world by far. It's the only commodity in the world that's cheaper than it was in 1980. You're talking 45 years ago. I mean, you inflation adjust that 1980 price of $50 today's dollar terms, you're close to $300. And we're sitting here at 40. So it's going to go to that 300 and above because the inflation's not done. The scarcity in silver is going to get much, much worse. The retail market's not even into silver right now. We're not selling a lot of silver right now. We're starting to in the last week or two because of the price moves. People are starting to FOMO it back into precious metals. But there's not a lot of fear out there in terms of COVID. It seems like it's been forgotten about. The economy, I mean, you believe what you want from what's out there. In my opinion, and what the numbers I see, every single economic indicator is showing a slowdown. The United States just announced revised job losses. CPI, they're saying inflation is actually lower than what it was. So, I mean, do you believe those numbers? Who knows? But all this does is allow them to set them up for the next Fed rate announcement. And in that, they're likely going to reduce interest rates. And now they're talking about potentially lowering them by 50 basis points because of the job losses, because of the lower inflation that has been expected. So interest rate reductions are here to come, which means the dollar is going to get even weaker, which means asset prices are going to start to go even higher, specifically gold and silver. So the environment we in, I mean, it's the perfect storm for precious metals. Slowdown in the economy, major inflation, reduction in interest rates, major money printing to come. The amount of money printing programs that are going to be coming over the next few months and years is going to be astronomical. And that's all going to devalue the dollar. So gold and silver is the place to be right now because once that recession starts and the slowdown in the economy really, really takes off, people are going to be rushing out of stocks. And you're already seeing that start. A lot of the big money out there is already sitting in cash waiting for that opportunity, such as Warren Buffett and many others. So I think some are getting ahead of that. Personally, I have no interest in the stock market right now. I don't really see a lot of upside there. I think the upside in precious metals is enormous. I think the upside in cryptocurrencies is big. So that's where my money's at.
Let's communicate to our audience. So you have the upper echelon, the wealthy people, then you have the middle class, and then you have this people who are struggling, right? And how they diversify their portfolio. So if I'm a wealthy person and I've made millions throughout my whole life, I should have at least 15 to 20% of precious metals, because if the shit hits the fan, I'm protected, right? So is that what you recommend with someone who's accumulated wealth all their life, to protect it, to getting metals? And then one more thing, then we could jump into the middle class and the people struggling. Is the best thing for them is to get in silver, because silver is affordable for everybody. So if you get in now at $41, whatever, and that goes up to 1,000, you can make your wealth from that. So if you want to talk a little bit about, diversifying your portfolio and communicating to, like,
I don't think there's been a more important time in history than being diversified than right now. It's shocking that how quiet the upcoming economic collapse is. Not a lot of people are expecting it or talking about it. People are kind of living like they always have, going on vacations, buying new cars. Everybody's kind of still living in la la land because they think the stocks are doing so well. Why would they sell their stocks? They're going to continue to go higher and higher until they don't, right? There's going to come a point. We're in a 16-year bull market for stocks since 2009. That's not normal. The average cycle of stock markets is 7 years. Here we are 16 years in. So this correction or collapse of the stock market is going to be major. You could see a 60 to 70% correction in a 12-month period. It could even be much deeper depending on what happens. So by being diversified, I think everybody should have 10 to 25% of their net worth into precious metals. Not their investments, because some people don't even have a lot of investments, so they might only have 20,000 investments. I'm not saying 10% of that. I'm talking 10 to 25% of your net worth, including your own home that you live in. Because why own your own home if you don't own any precious metals? Your home that you own right now is not going to go up in value. Not in the next 10 years, I can promise you that. People are getting more broke. Things are becoming more expensive. Home prices are, real estate, the best days are behind. You missed that boat. If you think you're going to get into real estate now and become wealthy from real estate, you are sadly mistaken. And you can just go through all the biggest real estate moguls out there that made billions of dollars in real estate, and they're saying the same thing. Robert Kiyosaki, Cardone, Grant Cardone, they're all saying the same thing. Get out of real estate. Go into precious metals. Go into cryptocurrencies. These are your opportunities right now. Just because real estate was a good investment for 4 decades doesn't mean it's a good investment now. That money's been made. It's time to move on. So you have to be diversified. 10 to 25% in precious metals. And then you have some in real estate. You got some stocks. You got some bonds. Now you're diversified. But right now, nobody's diversified. I mean, they're sitting on their home, maybe some real estate, and they own their stocks and their RSPs and their 401ks, and they think they're okay. And you know what? They have been okay, and they've lived a good life. But this next 10 years is, to my opinion, is a huge opportunity, because if you're stuck in traditional assets, your net worth is going to go down 70 to 80%. Do you want that? I mean, I don't want that. My kids, I worry for my kids, and that's why I own as much as I do in precious metals. This is for them. I'm not worried about myself. I'm looking to get my kids in a situation where they can thrive into what's coming, because most people are going to struggle in a big way, and they're going to be looking for handouts from their government, because their paycheck is not going to be able to cover their daily expenses. It's just not going to happen. The inflation that we're about to see is going to be astronomical. If your groceries are $200 a week right now, they're going to be 1,000. How are you going to pay for that if your salary is the same or you lost your job? Because that's coming too. I mean, people need to be prepared. This is insurance. Gold and silver is insurance. Everybody has every type of insurance you can imagine right now: life insurance, car insurance, every type of insurance. But nobody has insurance on if a financial system collapses or if the dollar collapses.
exactly. And you'll sleep better at night. Who cares? Like, it's not like you're gonna.
I mean, I don't care what happens in the world. The whole world could go upside down. The dollar could go to zero. The whole financial system can collapse. I'm gonna have a smile on my face. I'm gonna feel bad for a lot of people, but I know my assets are gonna skyrocket in that environment. To not have any position in precious metals right now, to me, is insane. But it's not their fault. And most people don't understand the reason to get in, and that's kind of why I do these podcasts, and I'm out there and I'm constantly posting on our social media. I mean, it's worked a little bit, but the reality is people are still comfortable with their stocks and their real estate.
Let's jump into crypto. We haven't talked to crypto in a while. Where do you see the crypto world now? Bitcoin, and then these other coins as well. What is your view on crypto right now?
We're in a risk on environment, which means risky assets are performing well right now because nobody's scared. Okay, so that means you're going to be invested in risk on assets. Crypto is a good risk on asset. Stocks is a good risk on app. Those are going to continue to perform well until we shift into a risk off market where people start to get nervous, where the economy starts to slow, the stock market starts to be under pressure. Now all of a sudden people are nervous. So when people get nervous, you don't want to own cryptos. Okay, because that is the environment they do really, really bad. So I think right now crypto is a good spot to be, but be prepared because they're going to go down hard when we go into a slowdown in the economy and we go into a risk off environment.
Where do you see Bitcoin? Now, you were just talking about, you were telling your family members and friends to get in Bitcoin when it was at 1,000. Now Bitcoin is at over 100,000. Where do you see that? Should people have Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin's a no-brainer. I mean, I think that's your safest bet. You don't want to get too speculative and buy some of these altcoins or meme coins that don't really do anything. Bitcoin has utility. Bitcoin has use case. The biggest money in the world is buying Bitcoin. BlackRock's buying Bitcoin. Countries are buying Bitcoin. That's what you really want to own. So start with Bitcoin. That's for sure. Then you can start looking at some of the other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or XRP or I mean, Solana, there's so many others out there, but stick to the top 10. You don't really want to get too risque. I've done that in the past and it really came back to bite me in the ass. I mean, some of these coins I bought back in the day are worth zero now. And I thought they were going to do great. They went up 1,000%. I was like, look, see, I'm right. I bought these shit coins and they're doing fantastic. And now I look today and they're worthless. Where if I just would have held on to Bitcoin today, I mean, you can't always go for the big grand slam. Sometimes you just got to go for those base hits. I look at Bitcoin as a base hit, a guaranteed base hit. And I think you got about 6 months left, maybe 3 months left of this bull market in crypto. So you could see Bitcoin go to, I don't know, 150 to 200,000 US by the end of this cycle. But the next cycle, I think you're going to be somewhere between 500,000 and $1 million Bitcoin. Eventually, you'll be into the millions of dollars per Bitcoin. It's just a very scarce commodity that not a lot of people own. And
So, listening to you right now, by you, I would get into silver and Bitcoin if you really want to hit it out of the park.
yeah, I just don't. I think silver's safer right now in so many ways because silver's not going to go into a bear market next year. I can promise you that. Where crypto can. So for that reason, because we're so close to a bear market, and again, Bitcoin went from 20,000 to 100. We're at 114,000 right now in like a year and a half. So it's already up 600% in the last year and a half. So let's not get too greedy here, right? Because most people miss that move. We're at the end of that bull market, so you may only get a few months left to make some good money. So right now, if somebody was coming in and they said, what should I buy? I would say silver for sure. You can gamble with Bitcoin for a short term play, or just buy it to hold for 10, 20 years. That's fine too. Silver to me is less risky, and I don't see a bear market coming in silver for another at least 10 years. So I think that's the safer play.
Okay, let's talk about gold a little bit. Obviously, you love silver, but where are we staying with gold? Gold has had recent all-time highs like crazy. It's been in the spotlight in the past over a year now with these massive jumps. It's just like you said, it's doubled. Really amazing returns. And gold is usually like a very safe um, place to put your money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about gold. I mean, gold, what a lot of people don't know is if you go back to 2000, the year 2000, gold's outperformed the stock market by 200 to 300%. Not a lot of people own gold, but yet here we are making new all time highs again today. Every day, gold's making a new all time high. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for gold as well. I mean, there's a lot of talk and chatter about moving back to a gold standard. We're going to back our currency by gold again, whether it's going to be BRIC nations or the United States that lead the way, who knows? But at some point, our currency is going to have to go back to gold. Every single time we go to a fiat currency system, it collapses and we move on back to gold as money again. I was just watching a video last night, actually, in Venezuela, where everything in the grocery store was priced in grams of gold. Everything.
Wow.
0.06, 0.10, 0.005 grams. Everything was priced in gold. And then people were going to the counter and paying in little chunks of gold. And they were weighing it at the counter. It was absolutely wild.
Well, they should have gold backs there.
Well, yeah, gold backs.
Yeah, that would be perfect. That's why gold backs is brilliant.
You're 100% right. It is brilliant, and one day we might be using that. Who knows? But the other thing that the revaluation of gold is being talked about a lot. The secretary, the U.S. Treasury, they talked about potentially revaluing gold at a higher price because right now on the balance sheet of the U.S., gold is valued at around $39 or 40 something dollars. I forget. It's been a while since I've looked at that. But here we are, we're at $3,600. So if they just reset the price to the current price, the United States balance sheet strengthens by several $100 billion. But if they revalue that price of gold from 3,500 to 10,000 or $20,000, now the United States government, now their debt looks a lot less than it is today, because that at $20,000 an ounce, now they might be worth $5 trillion. So the United States just made themselves wealthier by $5 trillion by just resetting the price of gold. So that's a possibility as well.
They're talking about Trump. I've seen a lot of this, especially on my Twitter feed, is Trump wants to erase the US debt with either gold or either crypto. And he's got something up his sleeve with that for sure. And you just said right now, if they reset gold, that's a great way of getting rid of their debt.
You won't actually get rid of it, but it'll just create, people will look at the United States in a different way, because it's not like the United States is going to go sell all their gold and pay off that debt. You know what I mean? So the debt's still going to be there. It's more of an illusionary thing that it just gives the, you know what I mean? But I mean, be honest with you, for Bitcoin, you're right. I mean, that if it was me and I had the ability to print as much money as I could, I would print it all and just buy all the Bitcoin in the world. Just keep buying it, bring the price to millions of dollars, and then go sell all your Bitcoin, and now you can pay off that debt in the U.S. So that's a possibility. I mean, if I'm the United States, you have the ability to print money. Why are you printing it and doing all these terrible things with it, like going to war and just wasting money left, right, and center? Go buy Bitcoin.
But here's to that point, the Federal Reserve is the one who's printing the money, correct?
Yep, 100%.
And these central banks, what are they doing? They're printing money and they're buying what?
Buying gold for sure at record levels. And that's what I was going to touch on as well. These central banks are buying more gold than they ever have in history. And that's 2 years in a row now. So, I mean, they're going to start causing some major shortages in the gold market. And that's why you saw the price move as much as it has. It's not from the retail market like me and you going to buy an ounce of gold here, an ounce there. No, these central banks are buying tons and tons of gold.
More than ever in the history of the world, right?
That's a big signal. That's a tell. They're telling you that we're at the end stages of this. Like, they never did this before. So why are they doing it now? Because they know what's coming. The dollar's collapsing. They have the ability to take paper money, confetti, literally, and get real assets. Gold happens to be the time and tested. Been the money of the world from the beginning, and it will always be the money of the world. That's God's money, and it will always be. We will go back to gold. The central banks know it. They set up this whole system knowing exactly what they were doing. They created a fiat monetary system for 100-year cycle so they could all get rich. And that's exactly what happened. And now they're going to have to reset that system and go back to gold, because nobody will ever go back into a fiat-based economy again, because obviously that doesn't work. What's going to happen is over the next 10, 20 years, the middle class is going to be completely wiped out. There will be no more middle class. You're going to have the haves and the have-nots. You're going to have your one percenters that are still able to do okay because they own so many assets, and those assets went up in price and they were able to protect themselves from inflation. But the middle class who don't own assets or the right assets, they're going to go down hard. And that's the sad part of this fiat monetary system. At the end, when it collapses and it ends, it's an ugly, ugly, ugly transition.
Now, we've been hearing about the monetary system, and cash is trash. Okay, its value has gone down since 1914. Go figure. Since the Federal Reserve was created, it's gone down 99%. Now, we talked about this. I want to talk about goldbacks. Now, you carry goldbacks at your store and you have it on canonbullion.com. A lot of people don't know what goldbacks are. It's basically spendable piece of gold. It's like a dollar bill made of gold, right? Where you could actually spend it, right? Because right now, like going into a store with a bar of gold, well, how are you going to get gold in return? It's so the creator here that made gold back, I think, is brilliant. What in a perfect world if gold backs and silver was cash and it replaced the dollar? Is that something possible we can see? Because now you can never question its value.
It's very possible. And I talked to Jeremy Corden, the creator of Goldbacks, on a podcast a couple of years ago. I didn't know much about them at the time, but ever since I talked to him, I've fallen in love with the idea. And you're right, we can move to that system. I think gold. The biggest issue with gold has always been it's too clunky. It's difficult to break down. They fixed all of that, and so now they have 1/1000th denominations, 1/10 of a thousand, all these different denominations in bill size, like our money today, but it's actually beautiful, made of gold. It's actually 99.99% pure gold. I wish I have some in my safe. I should have grabbed some, but they're beautiful. They're easy to spend. And right now in the United States, there's 7 states that accept them as payment. So in Utah, for example, there's thousands and thousands of businesses that accept goldbacks for payments. So it's already being used. And like I was talking about Venezuela earlier, like what a perfect use case for a country like that where they lost all faith in currency and the money's worthless. To be able to use goldbacks would be unbelievable. And when we have a global crisis, because our fiat money currency is going to collapse too. I mean, it's going to be worthless at some point. So goldbacks will be a great way to purchase goods in the future. And yeah, I mean, can it happen? Yes. Will it happen? The only way it will happen, it will be a one country at a time type of thing. And you'll need a leader with balls, obviously, because it goes against the central banks, right? The central banks want their power. And that's why the system is the way it is today. Central banks rule the world. Central banks rule every single country in the world because there is a central bank in every country in the world, other than Iran and North Korea.
Oh, interesting how they want to go to war with Iran now, eh? Interesting.
The other 5 that they we went to war with every single one of them, and then establish a central bank into their country. So the world is run by these central banks, and they're not going to want goldbacks, obviously. But if you get a country where the currency collapses, like a Venezuela, if a leader brings in goldbacks, I think that can happen, and I think it would be an absolute amazing way for the people. The beauty of the goldbacks, okay, so now you got your money in your pocket, right? Or you got your money at home in a safe instead of in a bank. So you got your money, you're able to use it, you're able to buy things. However, in 10 years' time, if you had $1,000 in your safe, right? And in 10 years, that $1,000 is actually now going to be worth maybe $5,000. So it keeps up with inflation because the price of gold goes. So that's the beauty of these gold backs, where your money in your pocket, it's confetti. You already said it's down 99%. Gold went from $35 back in 1971 to now today 3,500. So gold price went up 100 times in just 50 something years. That kind of tells you how bad the dollar is collapsing. And we're at the end stages of that now, and the whole world knows it. And that's why the whole world doesn't want US dollars anymore. Every single country in the world is no longer wanting US treasuries. You got China selling all their treasuries, you got Russia selling their treasuries. Nobody else wants to buy treasuries. So, I mean, that just tells you that there's no faith in the US dollar anymore because nobody wants to hold on to these things long term. Because even if you're paying me 4 or 5%, who cares? Inflation's at 10, 15%. That's a losing proposition.
Speaking of instability, let's get into this a little bit. It's all over my Twitter feed. Everywhere I look is Charlie Kirk assassination. Now, I'm just trying to understand why. Why was he assassinated? I read into this. I'm thinking they want to trigger a civil war. And I think they want us more divided than ever. I think what's going on right now in Israel and Palestine, I think people are starting to come together because you see a lot of innocent people die. Everybody has, we're all human, and compassion for that. And I think people are coming together and they're kind of against this war. Also, there's been a lot of studies coming out about the vaccines. There's been a lot of attention on the Epstein, and nobody's getting anything on the Epstein list. Was this a distraction killing Charlie Kirk? Why kill Charlie Kirk? Is it to trigger a civil war to keep us divided? Because now, if you look, in which I don't agree, and me and you come from the school, we don't believe in right and left. we believe it's a uniparty, right? And I'm done with that. That's for fools. I'm sorry. If you haven't learned your lesson yet.
Yeah, there's no politician that's going to save the day.
Yeah, exactly. There isn't. It's never going to happen. If you haven't learned from Trump, Trump ran on a brilliant campaign. He was against the establishment. He's going to drain the swamp. He was for America first. That's everything everybody wanted, and that's why he became popular. And now you see him, and none of that stuff is true whatsoever. War is still going on more than ever.
It's amazing that people still believe politicians and believe what they're saying, especially in an election year. It's like, dude, they're going to tell you anything you want to hear just to get in, right? And then as soon as they're in, and it's been the same thing from forever. So none of this is surprising, but I don't know how some people are surprised with what Trump's doing now. I mean, none of this is surprising. I'm not surprised there's nothing out there on the Epstein. That's another huge distraction. I think all this stuff is distracting. If you see something in the mainstream media and all over social media, it's likely there by design. Nothing happens by accident. And if it did happen by accident, and the powers that be didn't want it to be a big news thing, it wouldn't be. They have ways to curtail news and ways to promote news. And this Charlie Kirk thing obviously is super super sad. Whether the story behind it's true or not, probably not. Who know? We'll never know who the killer actually was. Was it a CIA thing?
Well, it was a pro from 200 yards to get shot in the jugular. That's not some.
Was he even shot in the jugular? You know what I mean? Really? I mean, I've seen so many different videos already, kind of showing all these different angles, whether there was AI involved, whether it was kind of another false flag, some type of a hoax, where we all believe it, but did it? And again, I'm not saying he didn't die, but you just don't know. All I know is every single thing that's happened in this world that gets promoted by the mainstream media is usually a BS story. And I'm not saying this is a BS story, but I always caution everything. Everything I see in the mainstream media, I take with a grain of salt, and I always know there's an agenda behind it. So if he was shot and he is no longer with us, who did it and why? I doubt it was some guy that just didn't like what Charlie Kirk stood for. I don't think that was the case. I think there's a bigger thing here. Same thing with the stabbing a couple days ago. I mean, even the video footage of that, there's no real footage of, you don't really see him stabbing her. And it didn't even make sense. There was no need to stab. I mean, that whole story just didn't add up to me at all either. To me, at the end of the day, it's all about divide and conquer. Like you said, they want to divide us. So they have their race wars. They divide between liberals and conservatives. They divide between Republicans and conservatives. So they do. I mean, they're always going to try to divide us, and that's the motto of the Freemasons. Freemasons are the ones who control the world, and that's always been their motto, and that's how they control us. They divide us and they make us argue with one another so that we don't come together. Because if we all came together and we were all one, we would realize that the real problem is the government. The real problem is them. We need to stop arguing with each other about nonsense. Political parties, who gives a shit about? They're all garbage, all of them. Like, stop the nonsense, guys. Like, if we just all came together and rebelled against these central banks and rebelled against these governments, we can actually have a fighting chance. But if we just keep arguing about these petty nonsense, even the Charlie Kirk stuff, like, how can anybody even be arguing about it? It's a sad thing, and let's just move on from it. But we won't move on from it. This is going to go on and on. You got pro-gun people against the anti-gun people. I mean, it's just a constant. Any way they can make us argue about something, they're going to do it. Because while that all happens, while we're arguing, they're controlling the world, and they're moving on to the next phase of their complete world domination. And they are so close to taking over the entire world and making us all complete slaves to them. We already are to a certain degree, but I'm talking full on slavery, where we have nothing and we need the government and we need that handout. And we are very close to that coming, and they know it, and they're setting us up for that. And we're still talking about some stupid Epstein stuff that nobody even knows if there's any truth to any of it. I never bought any of it from day one, to be honest with you. I've always thought it was a distraction. I mean, I don't know. If it comes from the mainstream, if you see it on the news, I'm usually not buying it. I'm not believing it. And if it did happen, It was done by design for a reason and for a purpose. And that's my thoughts on that.
Wow, that's a great way to end this podcast. But that's coming soon. We're going to do a conspiracy theory podcast soon and cover all the conspiracy theories that have come true. I'd love to do an episode with you on that different take.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But that's episode 30, guys. So if you're interested and you want to get into precious metals, there's a link below where you could actually book a free consultation with Michael, virtual, over the phone, or in person. If you want to buy online and you know what to buy, hit canambullion.com. And that's about it. Until the next time.